What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some news about the upcoming DLC for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, the Infinite Museion. You see, very recently we got the reveal of the companion that will be added by that DLC. I believe it's like Aegon Febris, which is seemingly our second Tech Priest companion. But in revealing this character, I think they also gave us a bunch of other information at the same time. But before we get too deep into that, I do want to mention a couple of other things. One, when they made this announcement, one of their community managers, Starrock, over on the Rogue Trader Reddit, made it pretty clear that this second DLC season, which is this DLC and one more after it, is likely going to be the last. We are expecting this next one sometime between now and the end of June, with the second one to follow in the months after that, provided of course all goes well. And it's looking very likely that that will be the last of the DLC for Rogue Trader, which is not terribly surprising, but it's nice to, have the more or less confirmation of it. And just to get the inevitable question out of the way, no, this new companion is not going to be romanceable. And while I'm sure that will be very upsetting for a certain type of person, we do have some other details about this character. So you can tell basically from the look of this particular Tech Priest that they are most likely a Tech Priest Manipulus. That is a type of Tech Priest who uses their sort of bulbous shell, if you will, to store electricity, more or less, and then use that to overcharge and supply everyone around them with various power, more or less acting as a support role, as you would probably expect. And that pretty much answers the question posed by the sort of Steam description of this DLC, which is that the companion here will have a combat style that reshapes battlefield tactics. So it sounds like, more than likely, what our new companion here will do is store up and utilize their power to empower everyone else around them, which then I think is likely going to coincide with the new implant system that is supposed to be added with this DLC as well. If you weren't aware, the Infinite Museion is adding an implant system that is supposed to see you being able to, of course, utilize implants that can be used themselves in combat and everything. Putting two and two together, I think it is extraordinarily likely that the new companion here is going to be able to use their power as a Tech Priest Manipulus to then activate and empower those implants to make sure that you get the absolute most out of them. That said, let's get the other obvious stuff out of the way. This is our second Tech Priest companion, which I must admit is a little bit disappointing on my end, especially given the nature of this DLC. The Infinite Museion is a secret vault curated by Trazyn the Infinite. Trazyn the Infinite is a Necron with a bit of an obsessive collection, if you will, gathering up everything he finds interesting about the known galaxy, I suppose. In particular, though, he has a keen interest in you, the Rogue Trader, and the Von Valancius dynasty. But the nature of its vault and Trazyn's habit of kidnapping kind of like everything and putting them on display in his Infinite Museion, as it happens, did have everybody, including myself, hoping that they were going to do something a little more, let's say, exotic than a secondary Tech Priest companion. And while I admit I am very interested to hear the conversations between this guy and Pascal, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit disappointed at the same time. However, I do think there is still some potential there. In the introductory trailer they made for this guy, they talked about how some wounds not even the augmentations of the Adeptus Mechanicus can fix, which seems to imply this guy has a bit of a troubled past, as you would probably expect given the nature of the universe in this game. But I would hazard a guess it is almost certainly going to lean into the Xenorite side of things, or the Heretic side, because I would just assume by the nature and setup of all of this, what likely happened is that our soon-to-be companion here is probably involved with the Necrons in search of utilizing xenotechnology of the Necrons, which is what the Xenorites do and is kind of just the heretical nature of that sect of the Adeptus Mechanicus, which will, with any luck, bleed into some more interesting mechanics and side stuff as well. But speaking of, if they are going to double up on this Tech Priest like that, it is my sincere hope that they also wind up additionally adding some things like, say, new origins or homeworlds, that kind of thing, to at least make some of that more interesting and perhaps interact with things in some fun ways. But admittedly, that does seem perhaps a little beyond the scope of this DLC, or at least what we know of it so far. But putting all of that together, you pretty much have the update for Rogue Trader and just a little bit more news about this DLC as we seek to actually look at the release date of it. I imagine that's probably what we'll hear about from this next. Given that we have all of those industry showcase shows right at the beginning of June, as usual, all of our E3 replacements, I would not be surprised at all if we got the release date of this at that point by the latest, as it is expected by the end of June at some point, and then of course the second one is going to follow on in the months from there. So I don't imagine we'll have to wait too much longer given the information they've already revealed about when this is going to be coming up specifically, so we can plan for it. Talking about what Owlcat also has in the chamber, just a small reminder that they've got their beta for The Expanse coming up in a couple of days, and then they are still working on Dark Heresy. They've also put out a couple of trailers going into the background of the companions they've already announced for Dark Heresy, so it looks like Owlcat will probably at least have a few things going on in the next month or so. And I'll be sure to cover all of that, of course, and so if you want to hear about that from me at least, by all means, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz. Let me know how you feel about all of this down in the comment section below. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.